Halloween is still a few months away, but luckily, Netflix offers a wide selection of unsettling movies and documentaries to get you in the Halloween spirit a bit early. The only thing you shouldn't do is watch these alone. Number 5. On October 25th, 2002, Ghost Ship was released. The film did well at the box office, surpassing its $20 million budget by about $48 million. The American-Australian horror film immediately became a classic, even for those that didn't find it really scary. The film has an intriguing plot and great cast, which helps boost the plot from its cheesy horror to an impressive production. The film synopsis offered by Google does a decent job of explaining the concept. It reads, in a remote region of the Bering Sea, a boat-salvaged crew discovers the eerie remains of a grand passenger liner lost for more than 40 years. But once aboard the eerie cavernous ship, the crew of the Arctic Warrior discover that the decaying vessel is anything but deserted. It's home to something more deadly and horrific than anything they've encountered in all their years at sea. The film uses a unique approach to storytelling. It opens with a scene where the cruise ship members are enjoying a lively night aboard the new glimmering ship. Things quickly turn tragic when the boat begins to sink and the passengers are shown passing in horrible ways. The setting then jumps forward and a sea crew explores an abandoned vessel which they discover is actually the SS Antonia Graza, a passenger ship that mysteriously vanished 40 years ago. The crew members find gold and jewels aboard the boat and attempt to steal them. However, a series of paranormal events scare them so badly that they flee the scene empty-handed. As they're sailing away, the ship explodes as a result of paranormal sabotage to the engine. The crew is left with no other option than to restore the ghost ship as a means of salvation. Once aboard the ship, the true horrors began. Evil, tormented, and desperate spirits began haunting the new passengers and even causing freak accidents to decrease the number of living souls still on board. Number 4. This 2016 American slasher film, titled Hache, follows the story of a deaf writer who retreats to the woods to live life alone and focus on her work. Madison Maddie Young is a deaf-mute woman who lost her ability to hear when she was 13. As a result of her deafness, Maddie also resorted to a life of silence, fearing that speaking was too difficult. The film begins with Maddie already settled into her life of solitude in the woods. A friend of hers, Sarah, comes by to visit, but after she leaves, things begin to unravel. Sarah's chased down by an unidentified attacker. After she's attacked once, she runs to Maddie's house and bangs on the door while screaming for help. Unfortunately, Maddie obviously can't hear her as she's being stabbed right on her front doorstep. The masked assailant realizes Maddie's disabilities and turns his attention to her. He sneaks into her home, steals her phone, takes pictures of her while she's unaware, and then sends them to her. He then cuts her power and ruins her car. Maddie must keep herself safe and find a way out despite her setbacks. An action-packed thriller follows that features successful jump scares, tactical violence, and a touch of gore. With just a $1 million budget, the film performs better than expected and has been given a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, a high score that doesn't come easy to horror or thriller films. Number 3. Poltergeist, The Conjuring, and Insidious are classics that share a spot on this list. These films are among the most popular horrors on Netflix and just overall. They also share similar themes of paranormal hauntings mixed with suspense. Poltergeist, released in 1982, was an instant classic for horror fans. Watching the film now may leave a bitter taste in your mouth thanks to its aged special effects and cliché horror tropes. Remember though that the film is old and you have to consider its impression in the 80s. Poltergeist was one of the first hugely popular paranormal films that started the trilogy of terror. For those that don't remember the plot, the Freeling family moves to a home development community and is terrorized by numerous ghosts that are controlled by a more complex being known as Beast. As the haunting grows more serious, the family realizes that the spirits can communicate directly with their youngest child, Carol Ann, through their TV set. Carol Ann is eventually abducted by the spirits through her closet door, which acts as a portal between the two dimensions. Most of the film centers around trying to save Carol Ann. Terrifying events and encounters occur, and as for the horror film, it mostly comes from jump scares, eerie events, and the occasional depiction of a spirit. For its time though, the special effects used were impressive and thoroughly scared the audience. Insidious, the first installment of the series, was released in April of 2011. The story centers around a young boy who moved to a new home and mysteriously slipped into a comatose state. After a series of paranormal events plague the family, they learn that the spirits are trying to use their son's body as a vessel into the world of the living. Much like in Poltergeist, the family must save their child before it's too late. The father travels to a type of purgatory via astral projection to save his son. While there, he witnesses several disturbing scenes filled with unsettling spirits and tragic stories. The suspense and jump scares scattered throughout the film are effective, but the true scare is in the dimension between life and death. This newer film will serve you the perfect mix of plot and visuals to make you lock your closet door before going to bed. The Conjuring is a 2013 horror film with a much simpler story, and was created by the same team that worked on Insidious. It follows the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who we discussed on this channel multiple times before. The paranormal investigators are working a case in which a large family is haunted by aggressive spirits that haunt their new farmhouse. All three of these films are available now to watch on Netflix. Number 2. This 2016 American slasher, titled Terra Fire, is a low-budget project with very little popularity. However, it directly targets an audience with one of the most common phobias and follows a stable plot filled with suspense and gore that sets the tone for a truly terrifying Halloween. If you have coulrophobia, an extreme fear of clowns, this film is either perfect or terrible for you, depending on how badly you like to be scared. The film starts by establishing a background. The talk show host is interviewing the victim of a Halloween attack that occurred a year before. The badly disfigured woman speaks about surviving the attack and mentions Art the clown. Art was an insane killer in this scenario, whose body recently disappeared from the morgue. The host suggests that may mean that Art is still alive, but the victim dismisses this notion, saying that she saw him die. The story shifts to Halloween night, present day for the film. 3 women are out celebrating when they encounter a man in a terrifying clown costume. He teases them and then attempts to attack them. It becomes apparent that the unknown clown man is actually Art the killer clown, from the tragedy last Halloween. Art embarks on a bloodthirsty rage in which he plans to terrorize and eventually attack the woman he previously encountered, as well as anyone that gets in his way. Some have described the plot of Terra Fire to be nothing impressive or complex, and there's no real aspect to the plot that you have to think about or try to solve. It's not necessarily a bad thing though. The story and its characters serve as more of a framing device for the artistic aspect of the film. Despite a low budget and a flimsy plot, Terra Fire delivers cinematic shots and special effects that can only be described as works of art. Art the Clown, portrayed by David Howard Thornton, is a notable character as well. David displays a sarcastic, comedic, enraged, demented, and sinister character without getting carried away by the funny or prankster reputations of clowns, which often hinders their scariness in other films. Instead, David perfectly balances the playful with the disturbing in his performance. Number 1. This 2014 horror film has received a split response from critics and audience viewers. While Rotten Tomatoes has given the film a 26% rating, Google users have given it a 91%. Many of the reviews posted by horror fans label this film as one of the scariest they've ever seen. The synopsis provided by Wikipedia states that archaeologist Scarlett Marlowe has devoted her whole life to trying to find one of history's greatest treasures, Flamel's Philosopher's Stone. According to legend, the artifact can grant eternal life and turn any metal into gold. When she learns that the stone is hidden underground in the catacombs of Paris, she assembles a crew to guide and document their historic mission. As they begin their descent, the team members have no way of knowing that they're encountering their own personal hell. While the description is a sufficiently detailed explanation of the movie, it fails to point out the most compelling and disturbing elements of the film. To be fair, these elements are mostly visual, so if you want to experience it for yourself, you're gonna have to watch it. First off, the extremely small spaces within the catacombs are enough to give people a heart attack and send claustrophobic viewers home. Second off, countless disturbing beings are thrown on screen with jump scares and eerie lurks behind cave walls to rack up your suspense and get you screaming. Third off, men or monsters sporting black cloaks strolling through the openings while the disorienting sounds of ancient screams get you lost. The film is available now for your streaming pleasure.